Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! Resolve. Oh, do you hear that? I'm sorry, I live near a fire station, and a fire truck happens to pass by, but now it's gone. Everything's fine. We actually have managed to go through the first part of the trial, of the first day. I don't think, although I do think there is going to be a second day, but now we are here at the Old Bailey. We defended Mr. Harebrain against himself. Against himself. If you haven't watched the last episode, just do that and you'll know what I mean. But now we are here, so let's just get into it. It's the 23rd October at 10:44 a.m. at the Old Bailey and the defendant's antechamber.
Mr. Naruhodo? What on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis! My amazing hypothesis! You've been picking holes in it from the start!
Sorry about that.
But you promised me! You said you'd prove that rotten explosion was an accident, not murder! You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands! But all you've done so far is try to undermine me!
Yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I'd believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. Fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there?
But if I just run through the same sub-equations? Yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete.
Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he?
Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. And I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster. Not just a scientist, but as a human being.
Well, that might be a little over the top.
And while we're on the subject, well, what about Barack? He's being awful.
Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean?
He's a disaster, not just as prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but no, wait, he's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore.
Glad that's cleared up. Can I double check something with you?
Yes, what?
The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved.
I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet. But please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it.
Alright, Professor. I understand.
Counsel, defendant! The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way into the courtroom, please.
It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Jones was adamant.
A practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible.
So really, what should I be trying to prove here? That is a very good question, Ryunosuke. Very good question indeed. 23rd October, 11 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify?
The prosecution is ready, my lord.
As is the defense, my lord.
So, Lord Van Zieks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes.
Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable.
Perfect. A detective of all people.
The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound, and consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused.
Thank you, counsel.
Oh, just a second. My wires get all tangled up.
The prosecution's position is clear. So, bring forth your witnesses now.
Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally.
Unequivocally. I have to exercise that word a little bit. And Ginny.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear.
My name is Balthazar Loon. I am the impresario of all the hot air balloons in vicinity of the experimental stage.
Mein Name ist Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund Ornstein. I have come to see the great
Maybe that voice isn't.
I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I'm very rich.
Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective, even Sherlock Sholmes agrees. I was on security duty at the exhibition, and I got to go up in one of them balloons. It was amazing. Gina? Again? But she did mention that she'd seen the disaster from up in a balloon actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it.
There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one of such balloons at the time and saw events unfold from the skies above.
You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet, very low.
Well, you can't see nothing if you fly too high, can you? 60 feet, about 18 meters then.
Thank you for your introductions. Now, you will give your formal testimony for the court. Kindly describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage.
Witness testimony. The view from 60 feet up.
It was an incident terrible.
It was an incident terrible. I'm only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second another bang in the sky beside us. And from amid the smoke, a cage appeared out of nowhere.
The cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. Okay.
A most extraordinary collective account, I must say.
Could I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions.
More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the two witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called birdcage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witnesses. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower.
I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with a person inside. The blast was so hot, but I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide. I still have lots of money.
Precisely, who is this curious infant?
I'm told he's a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into the Great Exhibition.
Yeah, I'm here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school.
You will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony.
Do we really need that?
When I remove my mask, this is what I look like.
Oh yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody says so.
Great disguise, then.
The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiate the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused who was with Mr. Eisman on the stage could possibly have committed the murder.
Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So, the defense's cross-examination now, please.
Yes, my lord. Alright. The view from 60 feet up.
It was an incident terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
Hold it! There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand.
See, all 3 of them, my bellissimi bambini. They are very popular, signor. Some people will pay £10 for one ride.
£10? That's more than my annual stipend.
£20 a month. That is my pocket money.
Royals have all the luck.
I got up there for free, I did. Played the old work for Majesty Police card, you know.
Detectives have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though?
Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other.
The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area.
See, and the zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident.
Right, I can fill you in there, my lord. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second another bang in the sky beside us.
Hold it! So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air?
Yup,
Isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, huh? I'm telling you, Otto, being a lawyer is a mug's game. You should join the force and we can go flying together. You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think? Everything! We saw everything because we were up above it all. That dodgy cove climbing into the cage and the dodgy professor pulling all them levers. Ain't that what it happened? That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared just like that.
You are describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it. But then there was another bang right in the air. I looked around and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. And there was nothing there before. Aha, interesting. We're gonna pursue that for sure.
Excuse me.
Master Gotts, does your memory of the day differ? My teacher at elementary school said that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name. Yes, what was it again? Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund Ormstein. Just the four names then? The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark? Oh, you get it right, Ella. It's Inspector Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? That is not what I saw. Oh? Yeah, there was a second explosion, and it was right beside our balloon. That is true. But I'm sure... Which is what I said, ain't it? 1 minute there was nothing there, the next a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school said that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? Oh, you what? I never saw nothing like that. Well, I did. I saw it, and you can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I am a Bohemian prince. You cannot say it's a lie. That is not allowed. Blame the royalty card. Typical. Says the Open, who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police.
In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony, in the interests of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia.
It was not the sky that exploded, it was a green balloon that was next to ours at the time. Okay, just before we keep going, if you don't know what Bohemia is now a region in the Czech Republic. And I think it's around Brno. In German it's Brünn. And at the time, the reason this child has a German-sounding name is that it was part of Austria-Hungary. And that is why this person here has a German-sounding name, because it was part of Austria-Hungary. And therefore, the dominance of the Germans, unfortunately, of the German-speaking population was at high rise, and the Czech people were pretty much oppressed, you could say. They were allowed to speak Czech and whatever, but they had a clear preference for German-speaking people. If you know Kafka, for example, Kafka actually spoke Czech, but he wrote in German because he was educated in German in school at that time. But now things are different, and Bohemia is now part of the Czech Republic, and people who speak Czech there. Everything is fine. So, enough about that. Let's press Mr. Gotts. A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that?
Of course I am sure. I am a proud Bohemian prince. All these questions are making me boring.
I think you mean bored.
Ach, English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior.
Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie.
Lie?
Flying balloons never explode. For the same reason the planets never explode. It is logical. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical.
If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia.
My Madai.
I will have the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them.
Here you are, Your Highness. If only all international incidents were so easily resolved.
Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could turn to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Liu?
No, I did not see the explosion myself, however. The cage fell from the sky like a stone and crashed onto the crystal tower.
Hold it!
Did you see that actually happen?
No, in reality I did not. I saw after it hit the tower.
There was a grande confusione around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there.
I saw that. I saw it slam into the tower after all. I'm a detective now.
Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I like to hear.
I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near after it crashed into the tower.
Hold it! Was it you who gave the order to keep people away?
Use your head, Odo. Or could have been me. I was up in a balloon, weren't I?
Right.
So cause I weren't available, it was the boss who had to lag it over there. He was getting shoved and kicked all over by the panicked spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It was a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing!
Poor Inspector Gregson.
So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see it, to be honest. I was scared out of my wits.
Keep it together, Inspector. The prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. But what if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. The two explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. But we already did that. It was an incident terrible.
It was an incidente terribile. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
There's this huge boom, and then the next second another bang in the sky beside us. I think... it was not the skies that exploded, it was a green balloon that was next to us at the time. It was a green balloon. So what about if we present this here? Okay, that didn't work out. That last statement would seem to be at odds somehow with the evidence.
It is your task, Counsel, to explain the somehows to the court, not the other way around.
It just seems to jar though, don't you think?
What I think is that this whole exchange has been extremely jarring, yes.
Perhaps I need to reconsider this. was not the sky that exploded, it was a green balloon that was next to us at the time. Huh, but we do have this piece of green cloth. Screwdriver, what else do we have? We have the arm lamp, newspaper. Wait a second, why can't we check this out again? The Reaper attacked. It's the kingpins of the criminal underworld generally managing to escape conviction into the Reaper's trials. And this isn't the first time the henchmen have tried to attack Lord Von Zieks as a result, by the sound of it. It makes you think, if that's how the justice system works in London, then there must be dark forces at work. Okay, now we did check that out, but that doesn't do anything for this cross-examination. What else do we have? The cage fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower. Didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. This from stage, another bang in the sky beside us. I'm only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. So, what if we present this here?
Objection!
Okay, so this was actually where we were supposed to. Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all three of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged.
See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosiones, it would have been terribile.
I wonder if you might know what this is.
Ah, I think it may be. See, part of a balloon, a burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope.
Sorry, the envelope?
Pardon, that is the large round part of the balloon which comes filled with hot air. It is made from a very thick fabric, lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you are in the sky.
Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gus testified, the green balloon did indeed explode that day.
Ah!
If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence.
No!
If a balloon exploded that day, why didn't they say so?
Maybe everyone on board was killed.
Oh no! Having just spent 10 whole pounds for the experience, how awful!
Seems to like those things crash 50% of the time anyway.
The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage, the point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon.
Causing the balloon to explode? Yes, eminently plausible.
An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pertinent facts.
This, I cannot accept.
Why not, Mr. Loon?
You are suggesting that I am a liar. That a person died in a balloon incidente.
There's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was the sole fatality that day.
That's right, and I prove it. Balthazar Loon is not a liar. There was no such a balloon in the sky. It is not possible.
You're saying it's impossible? Why?
This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
Aye!
Objection!
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now.
My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon.
I concur. There's clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. It's imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibition.
Ah, grazie, my lord. Witness testimony.
But guys, I'm really sorry. We are nearing the half-hour mark. Actually, I think we just breached the half-hour mark. So, if you want to know what Mr. Lunes Balloons are all about, you'll have to tune in next time for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Resolve. See you then.